Welcome to the Beanpod. This is your place for all things stocks and crypto. From beginner tips to expert picks. Use this as fuel for your investing journey, because when you're in the know, your money will grow. All views expressed by speakers on the Beanpod are solely their opinions. You should not treat any opinion expressed on the Beanpod as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a specific strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
What's up, guys? This is Shane, aka the Jolly Green Investor.
And this is Josh, the Nifty Investor.
Welcome to Beanpod, episode 1.
This is your place to tune in for everything stocks and crypto. We're going to keep you up to date on all the current events, what's trending, you name it, we're here.
So we're going to be doing this probably twice a week. Some episodes are just going to be stocks, some episodes are going to be crypto, some episodes are going to be mixed. It's really all going to depend on what's going on in the world. And the whole point of it is to keep you guys updated and keep you educated and hopefully help you guys out.
Sounds perfect. So maybe we should start with, how do we get involved with investing, with whether it's crypto or stocks? Tell me, how'd you get involved, Shay?
For sure. So I think I started investing in crypto in 2018 after the first crash, after everything kind of tanked. I felt like I missed the boat the first time it happened. I was like, shit, everything went crazy. I thought I was always on trends. I was a technology guy, but I completely missed the first Bitcoin run, and I really felt shitty about it. So I always told myself when it crashed, eventually I'm going to get in. So I waited until 2018 until everything crashed, and then, set up an account, started buying a bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and then just kind of held that. Right around the same time, I think it was still 2018 when I kind of seriously got into stocks. Opened up an account, started buying some tech stocks, and it was actually my brother that got me into to stocks specifically. The crypto was always my thing. And it's grown from there. So now I've been, full-time investing for 4 years going on now. And I've learned a lot, and hopefully I can help people out with it. What about you?
Yeah, right on. When it came to stocks, I think like maybe 10 years or so, very first stock was a penny stock. It was like Classic. One of those, friend of a friend.
Nothing's changed.
Man, it's like, this is going to be the best stock ever. I was like, okay, put $1,000 in. I think I lost all of it. I think I'm still holding it to this day because nobody will buy the 10 shares, whatever it is that I own.
Yeah.
And then what really took off was when the marijuana sector boomed. Mm-hmm. And that's when some of the serious money was made. You could throw a dart at a pot board and you could make, good money on it.
That was 2017?
2017. Yeah. So kind of took a break after losing my first $1,000 in 2011 and started to get more into things from there. On a crypto side of things, I remember taking a cold hard cash straight out of the bank. I showed my uncle was like, there's this new thing, this new technology, it's Bitcoin. And I'm like, what the heck is this Bitcoin? So I went to the bank, I took out $10,000, went up to one of these 8 random ATMs and
Bitcoin ATM.
Yeah, in Toronto. And I'm like, on this app, like trying to find them. This is before like anything was on the internet about it. And I just started stuffing money into this $100 bills into this ATM. Yeah. And, I ended up buying a couple Bitcoins and, it was pretty cool. And I mean, it was pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, you can still do that today.
One of the first. And then I heard about Ethereum and these smart contracts. And I was just like, smart contracts, removing the middleman. That's genius.
Yeah.
So I started to buy that back in 2016, 2017 as well. So
wow. Okay. Well, so a little bit early then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Funny note about the marijuana stocks. That was right when I got into stocks. That was kind of the catalyst to make me, all right, finally, I got to get into this stock market. I got to get into weed stocks. It's trending. All my friends are talking about it. I'm like, all right, boom. I got in at the very top of the weed cycle. So I came in, bought Canopy, whatever, all the other ones, Aurora, Afria. And I'm like, oh man, they've been going parabolic. It only goes up. I'm just going to keep printing cash. And literally I put the money in, and from there it just crashed. So I always, I empathize with people when I see them coming in and buying Bitcoin back in May, buying the top or buying whatever stock after it pumps and it gets popular and just getting absolutely bagged.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't that just seem like it's just like that's the human psychology? It's like nobody really believes in it until it's finally, everybody's talking about it. Their grandma's talking about it. Their sister's talking about it. Their dad's talking about it. And it's at its peak and the FOMO is set in. Mm-hmm. And it seems that's when people get pulled, like you said, at the peak.
Yeah.
It's almost like the markets know it.
100%. It's definitely comes down to psychology, which a lot of investing does, as we'll kind of talk about as these podcasts go on. But that's kind of where we're at with crypto right now, as we were just talking about. the FOMO cycle, and, you know, it's going mainstream, and you're going to start to see, they always say, you know, look for the signs of the peak of a cycle. It's when your friend that never talks about crypto or stocks is asking you about it. You know, what is this Bitcoin or whatever? Or, you know, your grandma's calling you up and asking you, send me what Bitcoin app. It's like, okay, these are signs that we're going parabolic. And as a long-term investor, that's kind of when you want to be taking profits. You let the retail, the people that are new to the game FOMO in. And if you're long-term, then that's when you should be taking profits. But it's hard to trick your brain into doing that, because when you see it going up, you're like, oh, put more. But, and even I've learned from my mistake, but I still do it sometimes. Yeah. I still do it. I still fucking do it.
It's like you need a buddy or somebody who's there, like a robot. Maybe we need like artificial intelligence to be like, hey, Jolly, time to pull that money out, man.
It's tough. I mean, you could go trading robot, but no, we're here to build our skills. It's all about, you learn from your mistakes. You're never going to be perfect. Yeah. It's timing the market as opposed to timing the market. And that's what we're here for. We're here to try to help people that are new in the market to try to master these skills. And it's a long-term game. We still make mistakes ourselves, but, by talking about it and stuff like that, hopefully we can help people.
Yeah. And it's finding those good projects early, and it's finding them often, and, really believing in and knowing what you hold.
Yep. And
sometimes it might take a year or two, it might take 3 years before it finally transpires, but I think that's where the dollar cost averaging comes in.
Yep.
Don't just if you have $10,000 to invest or $5,000 to invest.
Yep.
Don't just put it all in at once. Sure. Put in maybe 200 this week and then 200 the next week.
Definitely.
And just keep doing that and average it out.
Yep.
That way you actually have a position on the side for when, maybe it drops back down, or, I think that dollar cost averaging is
that's definitely the way to go. But, again, psychology, and especially the rise of meme stocks and, even social media, and, you just see people just promoting, go all in, diamond hand, ape in. And it's like, really, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, but that's what's being portrayed to the mass as like, this is how you invest. So someone that's never invested before in the stock market or crypto, back in January when the whole AMC GameStop thing happened, they're like, okay, well, this is what everyone's saying to do. Ape in, go all in. And they know nothing about stocks. So this is really detrimental to building good investment habits. And I get caught up in it as well.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to trick your brain into doing these things.
It's terrifying. I mean, you get these Telegram groups and these big sounding boards where, everybody's saying, oh, I've just made this much money pumping. You're seeing rocket ships and, apes and everything. You're like, maybe, is that what I'm supposed to be doing as well? Should I be putting in everything I have?
For sure. It makes me think about what are the good characteristics of an investor, and what are the things that lend itself to being active in the community. And I think one of the things that made me really get involved with it quickly and kind of came a little bit natural to me was just, I used to be really, and I still, I'm huge into fantasy sports. And I think there's a parallel between fantasy sports and betting and stuff like that and investing. Whereas, for example, you're always looking for players, and if you think something's going to happen later in the season, you do research on all these different players. You think, oh, this guy, I really like this guy. I've always liked him, but I think he's undervalued. So I was always doing that as a kid, playing fantasy sports. And then as soon as, I started looking into stocks and crypto, it's kind of, the skills translate over. You look into companies that you like, you do research on them, you read about their history, you read about what's happening in the future, you project, the macro trends. Is the marijuana industry going to go up, or is it going to stall? Is big tech going to take over, or is it going to be seasonal stock, or, all that kind of things. So I think those skills really translated for me over from fantasy sports, funnily enough, to stocks and crypto. It's just the penchant for finding things you're interested in and researching them and having conviction.
Yeah.
It's like if you buy a stock or a crypto and it goes down 10, 15, 20% in the first week, you might sell if you panic. But if you have conviction, if you've done the research, and that's what we always preach, even in the Beanstock Discord, we're always preaching, do the research, have conviction with your investments, because then if there is a drop, well, really, it's just a buying opportunity. If you're convinced that this is a long-term gem, then don't panic and don't fret. And as hard as it is, don't look at your investment app every 5 minutes or every day. It's really hard, and I'm always checking it. But it's just some of these, habits that I want to talk about that for new investors are really important. Just doing research, finding your skills, finding your interests, and just going all in. And that way, you're confident in your investments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one thing to receive the guidance, and maybe, when you're in the Discord, for example, and somebody brings up an alert, it doesn't mean necessarily buy that moment. It just means, hey, this is something new, and this is something that you can check out. do your research, check it out, dig a little bit deeper, maybe pop onto Google, look who's their CEO, what kind of past success have they had, et cetera, like that. And, this is funny. And this is a lesson I learned from the 2017 bull run for crypto, having been in both Bitcoin and Ethereum at the time, getting them both at the bottom. It felt like I didn't understand Bitcoin. To me, it made no sense. I bought it because somebody told me to do it. And, it did work out. But what ended up happening was there was other people around me who didn't understand it. And it started to infect my mind. And I'm like, oh, man, yeah, right. Maybe this isn't like a thing. I'm like, well, why are people how is this thing going to go up to $100,000 when it's just some random Bitcoin on the internet? It makes no sense. So I started to get like fear and like the FUD, right? So I ended up selling some of my Bitcoin just after the peak. And I'm like, oh no, it's starting to drop. So I got terrified and sold out. But when it came to the Ethereum, that's something that made sense to me. And I did my research on that. I understood it. And that's why I held it all the way through for the past 5-6 years it's been now.
Yeah, for sure. It's important lessons learned all the time. And, you made the mistake early, what do you think Bitcoin was at when you sold it? Like a few $100 or like $1,000 or?
No, like, it was still a good profit.
Yeah.
Like I got in around 2,000 or 3,000, but I sold it around 18, 20.
Yeah.
But it was after that, it got to like 25 or something like that. And then it started to retrace pretty quick. I was like, oh shit, I knew this was, it was like all the FUD that people have been saying around me that kind of got me out of it.
Definitely. And another important thing to learn and realize when you're getting into investing is when you see a trend start, if you're not in at the ground floor personally, and I've seen other people the same, you feel like you missed the boat. So, a lot of my friends and stuff and people I talk to that they don't know much about crypto because it's still really new. They think, no, I missed that. It's too late for me. That boat has sailed. Well, no, it hasn't. This is really just the start. And a good example of that is another funny story about my beginnings in investing. One of my old business partners from years ago, he was an OG Bitcoin miner and he was doing it back in 2014, 2015. Like, fuck. He told me about it. I remember in 2014 or 2015. I can't remember which year it was, but whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm mining these Bitcoin from my computer. And I went into the office room and the office room was like 1,000,000 degrees because there's these computers mining Bitcoin. And I was like, I don't know what it is anyway, whatever. Didn't even think about it. And sure enough, Bitcoin would have been like a couple $100 back then. And so I fucked up fucked that one up big time. But then after that, I was like, and I missed the boat. And then when I saw it in 2016, 2017, when it went crazy, I was like, man, I can't believe I didn't listen to my friend back then. I should have just got in. And I was like, you know what? I missed the boat. But then I thought about it more. I'm like, no, I didn't miss the boat. This is just the beginning. But it happens in different sectors and stocks and stuff. Like I'm sure it's happened to you with the marijuana, same thing.
Do you think people miss the boat with Bitcoin because of its dollar value and the way it's marketed in a way? Like it's like one Bitcoin, it's $60,000.
Yeah.
So that seems like it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to get into this.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Bitcoin needs a rebrand.
Yeah.
Where, you can, because obviously, you can buy any amount of Bitcoin you want, $1, $10, whatever. But your average person doesn't realize that. No. So maybe Bitcoin needs a full rebrand to make it worldwide. And Satoshis need to be rebranded into something maybe a little bit, I don't know, easier to say. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Then it's like, oh, okay, well, I could just buy $5 of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I can. It's like, but when you're speaking to, I had a couple of friends over today and, they were talking about, here are some of your investments are going well and all this. And it's like, can you introduce me to crypto? Like, where do you even begin?
Yeah, join the Discord. Join the Beanstock Discord, right? We'll
Step one, join the Beanstock Discord. But, it's setting up the wallet and then what exchange do you go on if you're a Canadian versus American, and then certain states allow you to you can be on Binance and some you can't. So there is some education. There's a bit of resistance, but I think putting the effort in and putting yourself in the right positions to educate yourself will really pay off.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so much to learn. We're lucky that we've been in it for years now. So even, all the basics they come like it's easy, it's natural to us now. But you do forget when you talk to people that are new to it, how much there is. And it's the learning curve of getting into something like crypto or stocks, setting up the account and where do I buy? When do I sell? Well, all that kind of stuff. Like there's so many things that even we fuck up still nowadays. So there's a lot to be, educated on. We're going to do our best in this podcast week in, week out, trying to help you guys with the basics, but also, the not so basics. We're going to talk about the companies that we like. We're going to talk about the sectors we like. We're going to talk about what's going on and really just try to help everyone out, try to get everyone into a space that we think is something that everyone should really be educated on more. I think definitely. People are not nearly educated on investing enough. So I think we're here to help, right?
And it's just starting. I mean, look at, maybe some of our socials. We didn't have a social presence before. We just decided to start. We haven't done a podcast before. We just decided to start.
Yeah.
We never knew about crypto before. We just so I think that's the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway is just take that first stride.
Yep.
And just start educating yourself if that's the very first thing you can do.
For sure. And, don't be intimidated by it. There's so much information, but you don't need to learn it all at once. It's a week by week, month by month thing. And, learn the basics, just check it out. You could even do the apps where you don't have to put the money in, you can do it for free. Just research, start researching companies, researching different cryptocurrencies and see what they do, see which ones you're interested in and which ones make sense to you. Yeah. That way you'll be more, you want to put your money into them because you think it's what's going to be here in 5-10 years. Those are the sectors you want to be in, as opposed to just people think, oh yeah, day trading, but no, basics. So that's what the podcast is going to be about. Helping people get into investing, stocks and crypto.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to tune in. And I look forward to sharing some more stories with you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in to episode 1, guys. We'll see you for episode 2.
Appreciate each and every one of you.